Hola mis estudiantes. Today we're going to be talking about the present progressive. It's not necessarily a tense, but it kind of is. But anyway, we're going to figure it out just real soon. So make sure that you've got your notes in front of you. And I'm going to ask that you are an active, engaged viewer. That means jotting down any notes or any questions that you might have. And pausing at correct times, and if you need to rewind to hear something one more time, I would encourage you to do that. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so what the heck is the present progressive? Well, I guess the present progressive is a tense in Spanish that expresses what is happening in that very moment. So, for example, estoy hablando. I'm talking. Let's talk about what it is not. So, we do not use it to explain what is happening in general. So in English, we could say, this semester I am taking biology and PE. But in Spanish, we would not use the present progressive. We would just simply use the present tense. Este semestre yo tomo biología y educación física. Okay? Because it's not necessarily happening what's going on right now at this very moment. We're just talking about, in general, this current time, what's going on. So here's a good example. Let's say you call up a friend and you ask, ¿Qué haces? What are you doing? Your friend can respond, voy al mercado, or preparo la cena. So I'm going to the market, or I'm making dinner. But that's just talking about in general, like what's going on. But if you're interrupting him or her in the middle of an activity, he or she would use the present progressive. So estoy jugando los videojuegos. So I am playing video games right now at this moment. That's what I was doing when you were calling, or when you called. But if your friend could just say, oh, just in general, voy al mercado, preparo la cena, as to like just things that they're doing that day, but in the middle, moment, present progressive. Okay, so then how do we form this present progressive? If you've heard it and you can see it on those examples, it's a compound conjugation. So there's going to be two parts to our conjugations. The first part, we're going to conjugate the verb estar in the present tense to agree with the subject. Alright, so I want you to take a stop and go through your head your conjugations of estar. Okay, and then we're going to add this thing that we call the present participle of the verb. Alright, so this present participle is the ing form of your verb. And here's how you form our present participles. So you're going to drop the end of the infinitive. So let's say, for example, let's use our verb hablar. Okay, so we're going to drop the AR ending of hablar, and we're going to add ando for AR verbs, or yendo for ER or IR verbs. So hablar, drop the AR, you would have hablando. Let's say if we wanted to use comer, then it would be comiendo. So comprar, comprando means buying. Comer, comiendo, eating. And then escribir, escribiendo is writing. So that's your present participle. And the biggest thing I want you to be comfortable with is not necessarily knowing what the present participle is, but just saying estoy and then the ando or yendo word. There are some good examples. Estoy hablando, I am talking right now. Él está comiendo, he is eating or he's in the middle of eating. Estamos escribiendo, we are currently writing. Están estudiando, they are studying at this moment. Alright, so how would you say they are camping, he is running, you are singing? So go ahead and hit pause. Remember, to form this, you're going to use your conjugation of estar, and then you're going to put the present participle, or that ando or yendo. Let's see how you do. They are camping. Ellos están acampando. He is running. Él está corriendo. You are singing. Tú estás cantando. Don't forget those accents on our verb estar. Now, of course, we've got some irregulars and some stem changers. What do we do with all those? Well, I shall tell you. So, when a stem change of an ER and IR ends in a vowel, you're going to change the iendo to yendo. So leer would be leyendo, creer, creyendo, traer, trayendo, caer, cayendo. So that I changes to a Y. We're going to see that a little bit later in this semester. We haven't really used much of several of these verbs lately, but this is just an FYI for you. I'm not necessarily going to focus on this number 1 information too much, but make sure you've got that down in your notes and you're just aware of it. And then we've got our stem changers. So, only our stem changers that end in IR are going to have a stem change in our present participle. So, for example, dormir would change to durmiendo. So instead of an OU or O to UE, it just becomes O to U. And then both of our E types of stem changes, whether it's E to IE or E to I, they're both just going to go to E to I. So competir, for example, we know is an E to I stem changer, so it'd be compitiendo. Decir, we know is an I, E to I, diciendo, and then vestir, vistiendo. So those are our AR verbs that stem change, don't have to worry about them. ER verbs that stem change, don't have to worry about them. You're just going to use the regular root of the infinitive. Okay, so let's talk about what we do with pronouns when we use them with our present progressives. So we've got these two options. They can place before the conjugated form of estar, or they can be attached at the end of the present participle. And I'm going to show you an example here in just a second. But if we attach the pronoun to the present participle, then we have to add a written accent. And I'll talk about that here shortly. So, for example, I am getting ready. We know that, what's our verb to get ready? If you said arreglarse, you are on the right track. So if I wanted to say, I'm getting ready at this moment, then you are going to say, me estoy arreglando. Or you could say, estoy arreglándome. Notice, they both have the me. Our first example, it just goes before the conjugation of estar. Or you can attach it to the end of arreglándome. And in order to keep the same emphasis on the right syllable, we have to write a written accent at this A. Usually you go 1, 2, 3 syllables, which turn into 3 vowels from the end. I think I've got some more practice problems for you. Yes. Okay. So let's see here. Number 6, I am brushing my teeth. We notice that our verb to brush our teeth is a reflexive verb that has a reflexive pronoun. So please make sure that you process through that and choose if you're going to put your pronoun before estar or attached at the end of the present participle. So I want you to practice, see how you do, and then we are going to go over your answers here shortly. Alright, here you go. Estoy tocando el piano. Él está encendiendo la luz. Remember, even though encender is a stem changer in the present tense, it's an ER verb, so we don't have a stem change. Estamos leyendo. There's an example of one of our I to Ys. Están durmiendo. Dormir is one of our verbs that is going to have a stem change. ¿Qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? You might have heard me say that in class once or twice. And then number 6, you can either say estoy cepillándome los dientes, or you could have said me estoy cepillando los dientes. Again, that's just personal preference, whatever you feel most comfortable with. So please make sure that you jot down any questions that you have over the present perfect, or present progressive, sorry. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask those once we go over and practice in class. Gracias!